With the Colorado coaching carousel continuing to spin, Warren Sapp is now out of the picture. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and you can follow along. Today's episode, we're talking about Warren Sapp. He's out. He was with the program as a GA. Then he got promoted to the pass rush coordinator position across the defensive line. And now he's out. Now I'm going to talk about his journey, and then I'm going to talk about what it means. And quite frankly, Warren Sapp's hiring was one that was interesting because it was initially announced by Coach Prime. It was initially sort of denounced by the program because of some of the backlash that was occurring due to his past. But realistically, I thought Coach Warren Sapp was going to be like a recruiting weapon for Colorado. I thought he was going to be just a name that attracted big defensive tackle names. Like I thought he was going to tap into a market that maybe Colorado hadn't tapped into as a program before. And instead, I wasn't really sure what his role ever was. And it's one of those things where you have these expectations and you're selling your program as, oh, we have multiple Hall of Famers. At the time, it was 3 Hall of Famers this past year, and we're going to get you to the NFL. And I liked that idea. But then I quickly realized, and I think a lot of you realize as well, that Warren Sapp and just a lot of legends in general aren't always the best coaches, right? We've seen that in other sports where it's like, oh, that guy's a bona fide star. Like look at, and this isn't even coaching, but Michael Jordan, for instance, GM of the Hornets, formerly the Bobcats, and he's the best player of all time in the eyes of a lot of people. Some second best player of all time, regardless. One of the GOATs, right? And he cannot assemble a roster to save his life, right? And there's been so many more other coaches or players situations where it just doesn't work out. And if I had to be quite frank, I thought Warren Sapp, and we don't know when this officially went through. Like this is something that I thought could have been in the a bit of possibility earlier in the offseason, right? I think there was 2 really telling things about Warren Sapp that indicated to me that he wasn't exactly bought in or locked in to every part of being a college football coach. For starters, Colorado's losing their entire defensive line to the transfer portal, and he's posting about a beauty pageant in Vietnam, right? I think it was Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken. And he was there and all that, and Colorado loses their entire defensive line. And it's like, okay, like, you don't have to live your job like ever. I guess like this is me sort of like walking myself through it. I guess you could take time off, right? Like you don't owe your entire life to your job, but it is what it is. Work-life balance is important. Then all of a sudden a recruit, mind you, Colorado had offered him like a day or so before, running back out of DeSoto. He's probably going to be one of the best running back recruits in college football this year. I think he's a 2027. People were posting his stats, and I mean, they were lucrative stats. They were insane. He was posting video game numbers, and Warren Sapp, being, I guess, the recruiting savant he is, tweets, oh, that's because Texas football is fake, right? It's not real football. It's not real high school football. And it's like, oh, don't know if we should be saying that because guess what? Colorado's always had a pipeline to Texas. Guess what? Coach Prime loves Texas, guys. Also, Coach Prime's sons played football in Texas, and they are, by default, Texas kids. And so I think the other biggest, I guess, scandal, if you will, it wasn't really a scandal. This was the most mild thing of the Warren Sapp tenure in Boulder, was him kicking over the pylon and then Coach Prime picking it up. I think that got blown way out of proportion. I could not care less about that. But I know a lot of people were really worked up about that because the initial video that sort of went viral was him just kicking it over. But obviously it didn't show Coach Prime picking it up. So it was like, oh, so he just walks around kicking things over. And I think that was a little disingenuous because it's like, okay, they had a little thing. Do I love the thing? No. Do I care? No. But it's one of those things where I thought Warren Sapp would have a greater impact. He didn't really quite have an impact, honestly. If you look at the numbers Colorado had, they had a good pass rush 2 years ago now. Right, where they led the Big 12 in sacks. But I also think they just had a really talented group, and I'm not going to take anything away from Warren Sapp, but the production was not there this year. If you look at just sort of where Colorado ranked. They were 63rd, 16th, and 129th in sacks. So 63rd in 2023, which that's when he was a GA. 2024, they were 16th, which I mean was tremendous. And then this past year, 129th, right? They had 13 on the year as opposed to a year before where they had, I think it was 30 plus. So again, it says the reports are saying that he's looking to pursue other opportunities. I don't really know if he was super bought in. Again, I can't really speak for him, but just on the outside looking in, going to the beauty pageant, not really. I mean, degrading Texas high school football when that's one of the biggest pipelines. And people, they got all worked up when I talked about it. But Texas high school football coaches are some of the pettiest, and I don't want to say emotional because that's not fair. They're petty and they remember things. I'll just put it that way. So a lot of Texas high school football coaches were sort of going on this stance of like, hey, don't try to come get recruits from us because like it's not going to happen. Now, how often does that actually happen? I'm not sure, but I do know it's a thing, right? I do know coaches can persuade a recruit to not go to a certain school because of how they've treated them. And so I would bet money, or it'd be safe to bet that I doubt Colorado is going to get the kid where Coach Sapp was like, you know what, Texas football, high school football is fake. Again, Warren Sapp, it was his own prerogative. He didn't want to be it sounds like he doesn't want to coach, but he was being paid $150,000 according to Football Scoop, which is always really good at getting the latest. And I mean, he brought a lot of experience to the table. NFL Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time All-Pro. He's a part of the All 90s and All 2000s team. Won the Lombardi Award, the Nagorski Award. I can't say that word, but you know what I mean. The All-American, 13-year NFL career. This was his first coaching opportunity. Based on the reports, it doesn't necessarily sound like coaching is for him. And it was one of those things where it's like, hey, if you're not passionate about it, get out, right? And so I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to talk about what this means, because I think, assuming Deion Sanders and him had this discussion, I think this is the right move for Deion Sanders if he was willing to let him go, and I'll explain why. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. The biggest stretch of the college basketball season is almost here. Buzzer beaters, bracket busters, and those unforgettable moments that everyone's talking about the next day. Being there live for something like that, that's bucket list stuff. I went to a Sweet 16 that saw Buddy Hield, Alex Caruso, Dylan Brooks, Brandon Ingram, Grayson Allen, and it was epic. It's something I still talk about with my buddy to this day. And guess what? We got our tickets over on Game Time because they have the best prices. There's no surprise fees at checkout, and you get your seat view. It's a game changer. You can see a panoramic view from your exact seat before you buy. I love being able to follow teams in the app and get alerts when deals drop. There's no stress, no guesswork, just a smooth experience from start to finish. That's exactly what you want during the busiest part of the season. So do yourself a favor, take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, all you have to do is create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. This episode of Locked on Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at Mazda. Let me tell you about Mazda, because guess what? They're doing a lot of cool things.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. South Carolina rolled past Ole Miss 85-48 to clinch a share of the SEC regular season title and lock down the number 1 seed in the conference tournament. The Gamecocks extended their win streak over Ole Miss to 21 straight. UCLA dominated Wisconsin 80-60 to secure its first outright Big Ten regular season championship in program history. The Bruins improved to 27-1 overall and remain unbeaten in conference play. And number 12 TCU stormed back from a 13-point fourth quarter deficit to beat Iowa State 80-73. The Horned Frogs now sit alone atop the Big 12 standings and are 1 win away from clinching another regular season conference crown. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow. Also, join our Everydayer Club. You could have access to a Discord where you could chat with me, Jay Smith, who's on the show a lot, Jordan Dominic, former Buff. I'll get him in there as well. It's really fun. You can also listen to these episodes ad-free. I have my pick for who I think may replace Rob Livingston as the safeties coach in there. So if you want to go check it out, let me know, because that's what I've been hearing. So let's talk what it means. Well, Warren Sapp leaving the program, to me, I would imagine this was a mutual parting, right? I'm sure Coach Prime wasn't going to fire his buddy, and I'm sure Warren Sapp wanted to sort of do things gracefully, if I had to guess. But honestly, this is something that I kind of saw coming. I feel like Warren Sapp and a few other people who are no longer with the program were playing with Coach Prime's reputation, right? It's all fun and games to be a jokester on social media. It's all fun and games to be going to the national championship game and doing whatever and like whatever. But Coach Prime is the one that gets held accountable for all this, right? Everyone held everything that Warren Sapp did against Coach Prime. So it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world that he's no longer on the staff. For me, this just means Coach Prime is sort of evolving. He's sort of understanding that, like, hey, I need to have people around me who are wanting to do this, who are locked in, because I don't think Warren Sapp was locked in at all. I don't. I'm not going to pretend like he didn't have a positive influence on some of the players, because I'm sure he did, right? He's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. Like, you don't just not have any insight to offer college kids as a legend. That being said, it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, think of it like your high school summer job, right? Where it's like you and your buddies and you're just messing around. And it's like, yeah, we'll get work done. But I mean, like, I had a job once where I worked at a catering company. It was me and like 7 of my high school buddies. And we always took it seriously when we had to. But when we had free time, we're washing dishes, we're spraying each other with the hose, we're throwing soap at someone. We're like, oh, this is funny. Like, it is what it is, right? That's funny. It was. We were high school age kids, and it was like, that was life. But when you're at a Division I Power 4 football program, you need to be serious. This needs to be your life. Like, this needs to be something where it is this, then everything else. And I don't know if he was willing or able to sort of dedicate that time and just have that dedication to the job. So, I mean, Dante Carter now is the defensive line coach, had a lot of success at Texas College. They had 39 sacks in 2024. They were one of the best units in the at the NAIA level, and it's his unit. And I think he's been with the program. He's established rapport with the guys that are at least there. I mean, the entire interior defense line is pretty much brand new, except for Quincy Wiggins, I think, was his move to the interior. But it's one of those things where it's like, you have to do what's best for you. And I think for Deion Sanders, not having someone who is willing to sabotage your reputation and your program's brand, not the worst thing. And for Warren Sapp, maybe coaching wasn't for him, right? There was a reason that he went, I mean, all those years. I think he retired in like 2007, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that. But he played, yeah, he retired in 2007 and then went into TV. And then it was just like, okay, he's dabbling in other stuff here or there. And it's one of those things where it's like, maybe it's not the worst thing, right? Warren Sapp got into coaching and maybe he found out it wasn't for him. And that's okay, right? He wasn't in a high stakes position. It's not like Coach Prime was like, hey, you're my defensive coordinator. It wasn't anything like that. But I think it's one of those things where nobody involved, I think, will look back at this and be like, darn, wish I didn't go that way. I'm sure Coach Prime would love to have his buddy around. But other than that, I don't think it's the biggest loss in the world. So Warren Sapp is out. And I think Colorado and Warren Sapp will both be just fine this upcoming season. I'm going to address some comments before I move on. Before I let you guys go, was Sapp a good coach? I think Warren Sapp brought some good qualities. He brought a lot of experience. He brought Hall of Fame level knowledge. Now, was he a good coach? I can't really attest to that because I'm not there every single day. That being said, the defensive line unit as a whole, and I felt the same thing about when Coach Pecco left. They took a huge step back this year. I wasn't losing sleep over either of them leaving. I'll put it that way. Zero impact, didn't recruit, and wasn't on campus in the offseason. Yeah, I thought Warren Sapp would have more of a recruiting impact. Obviously, I don't think it was his sole entire job to recruit, but I thought he would have been more of an enticing piece for high school recruits, and that just wasn't it. So he was a part of that Big 12 squad that led the team that led the Big 12 in sacks, but they fell off this past year. It was what it was. He treated this job like it was a part-time opportunity. He's getting paid $150,000, and obviously he didn't need to coach, and They didn't need him to coach. I think it was just Coach Prime wanted a familiar face. He wanted to give one of his buddies an opportunity. It didn't work out. So Colorado will see some changes. New defensive coordinator being promoted from within, Chris Marv. They haven't announced the safeties coach yet. Check the Discord for who I think it will be. At least that's what I've been told. And then new defensive line coach, if I didn't say that already. So yeah, a lot of changes. It is what it is. They have a new corners coach, new linebackers coach, assuming Marv is still handling the linebackers coach, and the previous coach Hart is not. So a lot of changes in Boulder. I'll keep you guys updated every step of the way. This has been Locked on Buffs. I will see you guys tomorrow. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I hope all of you guys have a great and safe Thursday. For those of you that care, slow pitch softball starting tonight, so you know it's getting serious over here in the Borba household. Wish me best of luck. I haven't thrown a ball in months. The engaged life, the wedding planning life will do that to you. Appreciate you guys.